Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens, the screenwriting step-by-step journey, step 47. Yes, we are finally going to start writing the draft, the rough draft of a pilot TV drama that I have been writing, letting you look over my shoulder while I do it in order to help demystify this process, to make it a thing that people do, a craft, an artwork that you can make, because that's what I'm here for. Every weekday, if I can be, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am here to write a pilot script so that you can see from the very beginning to the finished draft. And if you want to ask me anything while I am doing that, I will try and field your questions. But at the same time, if you are not watching me live, you are not shut out. You can ask me a question by going to writingforscreens.com and clicking on Contact Me. That is a good way to contact me. And if for some reason you don't want to do it that way, you can also ask me questions or leave me comments in the comments of this or any video. Any video on my channel, not any video. Okay, wow, we got a bunch of people here. Hello, Wolf. Hello, Matt. Hello, Foamheart from Germany. Hello, with I believe the Velvet Underground Nico Banana. I could be wrong about that. And the 99 Precinct. Hello to you too. In fact, hello to all. I have 2,500 subscribers this week. Wow, thank you. It is great to have you all checking in. And I hope that I can reward you with some information that is helpful. Starting with, today we are going to stop outlining and start writing. By the way, we're going to be going back to outlining a lot. That's what happens. You go back to the outline all the time while you were writing. But officially, I am setting aside the outline as the main job, and I'm going to start the rough draft. What is sometimes called in Hollywood by people who have a less pleasant experience writing, the vomit draft, in the sense that you let out whatever is inside in whatever unpleasant way you can, just in order to get it out onto the page. Cool. Velvet Underground. For those of you who do not know about the Velvet Underground, worth a listen. The Velvet Underground. Check it out. Okay, so we began this shenanigans on May 31st of 2021. It is now August 30th. So June, July, and August have all gone by. It's been about 10 weeks worth of outlining. That is not unusual. Yeah, I probably would have done a lot more outlining if I wasn't doing it in little slots at 3 p.m. But the truth is, 10 weeks, not outrageous amount of time to work on an outline. It happens. So, that said, let's take a look at our text. Now, I am going to be using Final Draft. Final Draft is a software used by script writers in the Hollywood industry. It's the primary screenwriting software for the business, but there are lots of others. Final Draft is expensive. It's worth it if you are writing a lot of scripts and you are planning to become a professional. You're really putting yourself in there, but it is not necessary. You do not, I'm going to do it because I'm used to it, because I have it, but you do not have to have it to write a script. You can write a script with plain old word processing. And my video on how to script format made easy talks about that. What I'm going to be doing here is going back and forth from the outline which you must be familiar with, to this blank page. There ain't nothing in this document. In fact, I'm going to open up the title page here so that you can see title page is a separate document, and I'm going to put in Untitled Podcast Killer Project. That's the title, written by. Now, this is interesting. In Hollywood, it is you frequently get rewritten. There's usually lots of writers on the script. They may not all get their names on the finished production. That is decided by the Writers Guild. But until the production, everybody has to put their name on this document. So I'm the first writer, and I'm going to be the last writer because this ain't going anywhere. Glenn Kurz. Based on, if any, nope, it ain't based on nothing. And my address and phone number, you don't need that. Okay. All right. So, George's studio day. See, that's how you start. You just start. You just plunge in. I remember that my first scene is all about George and his podcast, so I just plunged right into that. Let's see. So, okay, now what I'm doing here is sort of fun. He works in his garage, so but we're not going to tell anyone that. We're first going to show them the interior of this place. They don't know where they are. Dark. Only illuminated with pools of light from task lamps. From, hold on. This is, the camera is in the way. From crappy old task lamps and the colored LEDs of a whole lot of equipment. Digital recorders, mixers, etc. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just plunging into a description because I've thought about this. I have a sense of what it is. Now, here's the thing. You can do this thing where you highlight, where you all cap certain words like that, dark. Actually, it's so common that Final Draft has a button for it that you can switch to all caps. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do it. Some scripts I do this on and some scripts I don't. It's sort of like comic books where they bold or capitalize certain words. The thing about comic books is that they very often just do it randomly. And truthfully, there are a lot of theories. Hello, Moritza. Good to see a newcomer to our comments and reactions. Great to meet you. So, the thing I'm doing here, excuse me, is I'm just trying to get some world begun. I'm not sure if this is how it will start, but what I'm going to do here is unwooden. I'm going to describe a lot. I may cut this down. Walls. Industrial shelving. Oh, I should read out loud to you. See, this is the thing. I'm not used to having someone watching while I'm writing. So I was just writing, but I forgot. First of all, some of you can't see what I'm doing, and others may may want me to read it out loud as I do it, which is not a bad idea. Industrial shelving jammed with paper, cardboard, file boxes, papers, and indescribable junk. I'll eventually change that because describing something as indescribable is kind of wasting everybody's time. So I'm just gonna leave that for now. So basically what you're trying to do is just get a quick, like, remember when the audience begins a script, they know nothing. They have nothing except the title, in theory. And so you need to give them something. It could be a person, it could be dialogue, it could be a world, whatever it is, you want to recognize that first thing is their way in. I want to set this world that George is in. It's a choice. I could just as easily start with George himself, or sometimes you even just start with dialogue. You start with a voiceover since George is talking, and I'm going to actually get to that soon. A lot of what I'm doing is going to change. That's what happens when you're writing a first draft. The important thing is to try to get something down to work with that you like, something that you think is fun. I'm doing this because, I mean, it's pretty cliched, but it's fun. The other thing I'm trying to do is mix my sentences. For instance, this is a pretty simple sentence. A cluttered windowless room about the size of a two-car garage. You got a little description, a little description, that's it. Then this next one is actually a long, complicated sentence in which I'm sort of weaving you through and adding as I go. Sentences matter. It is important to be conscious of your sentences. Having done this long sentence, I do a quick one. It's not even a sentence, actually. I mean, technically, English teacher-wise, it's not a sentence. It's just some nouns and adjectives. You're allowed to do that. One of the great things about screenwriting is you are not being held to fancy formal rules of language. You are doing whatever it takes poetically and dramatically to keep the audience with you as you set up the journey. You are not describing the complete movie or directing the movie. I don't know how they're going to film this. I don't know if they're going to film it this way. All I know is that I'm trying to give them something to hold on to as they begin. Yes, I hope so. I think it's going to be some good stuff. I think we're going to have some fun. Okay, so not to talk it to death, let's just get to George. I can't remember George's last name. Hold on. George. Norman, Madeline, Zena. George Roisman. Oh, that's right. Okay. George Roisman. That also may change. He's in his late 49 years old. Sits in a rolling chair. Not sure if that's going to be true. This is really important. Don't overthink it. I just put him in a rolling chair. I may change that. Also, it may not matter. I may take out the chair altogether. I may say, sits behind a cluttered podcasting workstation. Sits at. Okay, now here's the thing. When you first introduce a character, it is not a bad idea to make something of it. Hello, Alex. It is the flow of a script. Ideally, it's moving pretty fast, and there's a lot of words, and it may not be a lot of words compared to a novel, but for people reading scripts, this is a lot of words. So you want to make your characters, especially your important characters, stand out when you introduce them. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. I like to capitalize and bold their name the first time it shows up. It just says, hey, this is a new character showing up. Hey, pay attention. He's got large over-ear headphones on. There's probably a better phrase for that, but for the moment, I just wanted to explain large professional, maybe? I don't know. He's balding, overweight, and ought to shave more often. There's a casualness to the way I'm writing this, because I'm trying to get a conversational tone set going with the audience, that they have a sense that this isn't overly important. It's sort of important to say that this description, by the way, if they find some great actor who's tall and thin and has alopecia and has no hair whatsoever, great, they'll cast that. This doesn't matter. What matters is that I suggest that he is not taking good care of himself, or that he is not classically movie star attractive. I'm trying to get the sense of an outsider. That's really the sense that I want. It's an outsider, but I don't want to say he's an outsider. I see loads of empty tin cans. There's not fork in an empty paper bag. George ate while working. Yes, actually, this is a good, these are all very good description. I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm allowed to, I don't necessarily want to get into group writing, but at the same time, you guys are coming up with good stuff. Hello, Madeline. Good to see all of you guys here. I'm going to throw in some of that just for the moment. I'm not sure what I will do with it. Also, while most of the space is set up as a working podcast studio, there are little signs that, no, I don't think I have to say that. Also, pantry items, canned goods, bottled water, etc., and other household supplies on some of the more dusty and shadowed shelves. Okay, that's something. Well, I don't know how far I'm going to go into description. Aging. Wait, I want to shave more often. Maybe. So let's see. Oh, this is also an interesting thing. Hello, Maria. Good to see you. Hello, all of you. 22 people watching. Whoa. Hey. I want to actually take a moment to just express something to you. I am not a great collaborator as a writer. I like to just do my own thing. I'm a big proponent of doing your own thing as a writer until somebody's paying you and they take away that ability. So one of the things that comes into my experience here is no matter how many great ideas there are coming at one as a writer, the most important voice is the one in your head, and you need to focus on getting that in. So therefore, and this is true, until the script is written, I don't do well with hearing other people's voices. I'd never been able to work well with a collaborator. And when I worked in a room, I had to reset my whole writing experience to say, someone else is in charge. I'm just a soldier. I'm just a foot soldier. I'm just contributing. And that's a fun experience, but it's very different. Anyway, so please don't be offended if I'm thrown by you guys making suggestions. I'm just not used to it. I usually sit here all by myself for months at a time doing this and figuring it out with nobody talking to me but me. So anyway, let's go. Would you usually need to describe the scenery that much, or only if it's a plant for later, like he hid the files in plain sight where no one would look in an old can? This is a tricky question. There isn't a right answer. Would I ordinarily describe it this much? Only in the sense that I am trying to get the story started. As it goes on, the times that I'll describe a lot tend to be when either something important is happening that requires a lot of description, or if we're entering a new place that is interesting or important, like textually, so that I want to give that texture, because if you just say it's an office, people will think all different things. And if I have a specific type of office that I feel is important, I'm going to try and describe it. I probably wouldn't describe it this much. I probably won't describe it this much. By the time I get done, I'll probably cut this down. The answer is, this is a rough draft. I am just spouting. I'm trying to get the raw material on. No. Everybody can pitch ideas. It's fine. I just was explaining why I might be a little confused by that. The rough draft is a mixture of really intense creativity and a certain amount of just sloppily throwing down whatever you can, because you need to get the sketch in. One of the things that's important to remember is that you, at least it's the way I write, is like, imagine you were doing a painting or a drawing. I don't know if you know much about painting or drawing, but often if you do a painting, you start by roughly sketching in the areas of light and shade, the shapes, and then you begin to build them up in layers. That's how I tend to write. If something comes to me that's detailed, I grab it, I put it down. But most of the time, I'm just sketching in. The thing I want to get to, and I certainly would not, by the way, have this much description if it wasn't that I'm actually sort of calling attention, like, ooh, get ready, something's going to happen. But the main thing that you can do to break up description is often you have somebody talk, which is always a good idea. I have not thought this out. What I know is that this whole sequence is going to be a monologue. This really is a monologue by George because he's podcasting. So I'm going to just start writing the monologue. I don't yet know the shape of this monologue, but I do know that there's a bunch of information I need to get into the monologue, like chemistry set killer. One of the other things I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up into pieces, because these are sections of the monologue, and I haven't figured out what the shape of the monologue is, so I'm just trying to get the material down. His first victim was a florist. I have no idea why I'm saying that. I just like the word florist. Florist in... For the moment, I'm just going to say Patucaville, Tennessee. And I'm just doing that because it's just good syllables. Patucaville. Murray Simpson, age 37. I am just making crap up here. This is very important. I will change this later. I am just trying to get what a podcaster has to do. A podcaster has to wrap you up in the story with just his words. So I am going to just... So George is speaking into an expensive microphone. He speaks quietly, intently, dramatically. I'll probably cut some of that, like an old FM radio late night DJ. One of the things I thought about his character is when he stopped being a musician, he started being a DJ, and that would get him into radio, which would get him into podcasting. So that was the arc of his life that I will somehow or other get in bits and pieces described. But I don't know if you guys know about this thing. There's a thing called FM radio back in the 20th century, where George is from. And FM radio, they used to have a much more flexible ability to do playlists. It was more personal. And often there were, in some of the major cities especially, people who would go on and they would sort of talk and tell stories and then play sometimes obscure or powerful music that wasn't ordinarily heard. And they had quite a following, and that's what I think George was. So anyway, there was a guy named Joe Henry, I think was here. Was it Joe Henry? No. Joe Frank in Los Angeles. I wasn't here for that. There were some back in New York, back in the old days too. I'm sure they were all over. Anyway, that's what we've got here. Wow, look at how we've got a bunch of stuff. George is looking at old photos and news clippings as he speaks, absorbed in the history, the images. I'm trying to get a sense of by the way, I cannot emphasize enough how much this is going to change later. The point is to imagine the life that you are creating for these people. You do not direct the movie. You do not talk in terms of a movie. You talk in terms of a thing happening. This is another thing. Everybody does this differently. There is no set writing style. There is no set way to introduce characters. There is no set language. It's all very, very, very flexible. I am showing you how I do it because that's what I know. That's what I know how to do. And also, I've done okay with it. I'm confident that this is a good way. It's not the only way, though. There are lots and lots of ways to do this. I am just trying to let you see how I do it. Okay. I may be, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I know that Bob Ross is also a figure of fun, but although apparently there's a documentary about him, which is supposed to be really interesting. But I did set out to say, I may become the Bob Ross of screenwriting, and if so, hey, let's do it. I need some more catchphrases if I'm going to be the Bob Ross of screenwriting. Okay. I'm not going to bother with that. Now, see, this is where you would do the all caps thing. So you would do like, now, I haven't decided if I am going to do this or not. Some scripts I do it, some scripts I don't. It's kind of fun. The point is, yeah, the hair is definitely not working for me and Bob Ross. Thank you. Okay, so here's the thing. These all cap things. This is just originally, way back when screenwriting was a factory business, when people were hired to work at a studio. The only way you wrote a screenplay was that you worked at a studio. You were hired to work in a writer's office on a studio lot. You didn't go off somewhere else and write and bring it in. You had to show up for work, punch the clock, and work on whatever they assigned you to. When they did that, there were very specific rules on how you write a script, and these capitalized things tended to be specifically for the other departments. In other words, this would be for the prop department to say, oh, we need old photos, et cetera, et cetera. That's long gone. That reasoning for these capitals is long gone. You do not do this for any practical reason. You do it because it looks cool and because it gets people's attention. And yeah, so prop callouts is what people think it is, but it's not. It's not. The prop department doesn't care. Nobody cares about the technical use of the all caps. The all caps is purely because you want to sort of jumpstart the people's imaginations, and it's sort of like having a cool close-up of these items. Oh, that's another thing I should talk about. I believe that you can subconsciously steer the mental image of the movie in the reader with your paragraph breaks and your paragraphs. So, for instance, if I wanted to have old snapshot, Xeroxed old snapshots of Murray alive and then crime scene photos of his body. Now, if I was going to do this, and I'm not, but I wanted you to see it, what you would do is you say he's looking at old photos and yellow news clippings as he speaks, absorbed in the history, the images. And then, see how I say the images, and then a new paragraph with the details of the images. What that does is it says to the audience, the reader is going to say close-up, extreme close-up actually. You know, you see the shots without me having to say close-up. Some people do this, or close-up on. I find that annoying. Everybody I know in Hollywood finds that annoying. Don't do it. Okay. I have seen directors do that. If you get lucky enough to have a director, cool, that's fine. Then you worry about this. This is not a script for production. This is a script that you're giving people to read, and the last thing you want to do is distract or clutter the flow of imagination. Let's remember this. The most important thing about a screenplay is you are making the movie in their mind, not laying it out in instructions. You are actually secretly writing a set of instructions, but that's buried deep under the job is really to create an imaginary real world. To say, like when I say, and this is why the present tense is so useful, George is doing this. George is looking at this. He's absorbed. We could even capitalize that because it doesn't matter. There's no rules as to what you can. So what this means is that the person who is reading this is seeing it happen in front of their eyes. They'll see it the way they see it. They will see the actor they imagine. They will see the lighting they imagine. You do not want to over-direct that. I talked about the lighting because I did want to give them a certain sense, but I don't want to say it's at a 45-degree angle from his head, and it's, you don't over describe the technical filmmaking stuff. You want to just create a living moment that they can get dramatically involved in. Okay, so George has to talk more, so because we've got a lot of exposition that is going through this monologue. He did a full day's work on August 15th, 1976, 78, and then went to roller skate. When he got home, he took a shower and then made himself a sandwich and a can of soup. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to get George to try and hook you. That's what, remember, George is podcasting. George is recording a podcast, and he's trying to imagine you listening to this and wanting to be with Murray, the first victim, as he goes unwittingly towards his own death. So now I'm going to put beat. It was the sandwich that did it, that killed him. The pickled peppers, in fact. Now, this beat thing, I do that when somebody's talking and I want to give a sense of a little pause or a break or a change of subject. This is essentially meaningless. There is no technical definition of beat. There's lots of different definitions of beat, actually. I think I talk about that somewhere, but I can't remember which video. There's the beat, which is like the beat sheet, how some people call the outline, in which, in theory, you would have every scene be a beat. But I don't look at it that way because it's a scene. And we have a hard enough time without calling things what they are. A scene is a scene. Within the scene, there may be sections, actions that are somewhat discrete. I call those beats. In other words, within a scene, there would be beats. But that's not what this is. This is a dialogue beat, which is simply a way of saying change, pause, little pause, so that's what this is. And I just do it to break up dialogue. If I want to give a sense of a character making a small change. Jar of peppers in his refrigerator had been laced with a unique, never before seen poison. See now, so the other thing I try and do, and yes, I do this, I read it out loud. He did a full day of work on August 15th, 1978, and then went to roller skate. When he got home, he took there's probably going to be more about that. Roller skate is a little confusing. And so it'll be like roller skate at Al's Roll-O-Rama down on Carbon Street. Okay, in other words, when you're hearing this, he did a full day's work on August 15th, 1978, and then went to roller skate at Al's Roll-O-Rama down on Carbon Street. It's a storyteller method. It's nobody needs to know any of this. I'm just making up details that give you that texture because that's what George would do. It's not, none of this matters. But what matters is that George is pulling this this trick on his audience of capturing the texture and the reporting. When he got home, he took a shower and then made himself a sandwich and a can of soup. It was the sandwich that killed him, the pickled peppers, in fact. The jar of peppers in his refrigerator had been laced with a unique, never-before-seen poison. Well, I need that poison to be there. Never-before-seen poison. Reading from a handwritten script. Why? I don't know. I'm trying to paint a picture here of George at work. Hey, we got a page. Yay. Okay. Yes, you should, somebody asked this. You should number your pages. The software will do it automatically. The truth is, now almost everyone who reads scripts reads them in a PDF form. A lot of it is considered bad form to print a script in Hollywood because of the massive use of paper. You have no idea how many scripts got printed, and then thrown away in Hollywood, and they became very self-conscious about this a little while ago because of the environmental trauma that it was inflicting. Now, obviously, other businesses may be using paper, but the truth is Hollywood tries not to use paper. So the page numbers don't really matter because it will always say it somewhere, like down here, 2 of 2. You see, I don't know if you see it in the corner. I'm moving the little mouse there. Anyway, so much to think about. Now, I can tell you that this speech is going to run for a few pages. It is a set piece, a show piece. And later, I am going to have to cut it way down because it's going to be much too long. I can tell you right now, I'm going to go pages and pages on this thing, and there's no way that I can get away with it, nor would I want to. It's not supposed to take up a quarter of the episode. But for the moment, I'm just trying to get into the flow and see what I'm doing here. I'm just writing down stuff. The FBI serial killer task force would later name him the chemistry set killer. This obviously is a jump. I'm not doing the flow. I'm just trying to get crap down here. That is the job at the moment. Murray had been murdered. The poison. The killer had broken into his home days or maybe even weeks before and poisoned the peppers. I will probably also change the peppers to something else because it's going to sound too funny. I don't want him to be poison the peppers. So I will probably change that, but for the moment, it doesn't matter. It can be the mayonnaise later, or it can be who knows what. It has to be something commonplace, something pathetically unthreatening. That's what I'm trying to do here. It's the old Stephen King trick. You know, you lay on the detail of everyday life, and so therefore the unnatural elements have a texture of truth, even though you can write about that's how you can write about vampires or stuff like that because somebody's using Hellman's mayonnaise. When we were talking about George, no, definitely George is not thinking about his wife. George does not know he's going to die, and so the question was, should somehow in here this speech hint at or refer to George's marriage. And the answer is that's another step. That's a revelation that happens later. Right now, the point of this scene, and this is important. Let's talk about this. Every scene has a point, a basic. This is what I must accomplish. What I must accomplish in this scene is George the podcaster, chemistry set killer, the killer, and that's basically it. The sense that George is hunting, his podcast hunting this killer, and we need to know about them. And then George is going to die killed by the killer. That's all we need here. And so that's where I'm gonna I've already got so much to add in when you consider all the facts that I need to have here. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to put a lot of stuff in here. Some of it is going to move down into other scenes because you can't run a scene for 7, 8, 9, 10 pages. It's too long. Remember, a script is only 60 pages, a pilot script. You can't spend 10% of your script on one scene unless it's a major turning point scene. This is kind of an important scene, so it may get to 6 pages. I don't want it to go more than that. Or even thematically, that all these people were alone. That proved deadly. Yeah, that's a true thing. It's not a thing that George would necessarily be talking about because he's not a victim yet. That's something that will be talked about him later, maybe even in another episode. You can't say everything at once. The most important thing, this is, once again, really important. One of the most important things about dramatic writing and screenwriting particularly is how to withhold, how to only do one thing at a time and allow yourself to unfold the story in steps. You don't want to necessarily put too much in any one scene until you have a big set piece where you put a ton in. That's the trickiest part of the game. It's so tempting to put too much into a scene because it's amazing how much a scene can hold. Okay. Poison was distinctive, created close to several naturally occurring plant toxins, and yet chemically created in a unique, I'm saying unique too much, unique way. See, so what's going to happen here? Manufactured this poison and would use it again on other victims over the course of 5 years. So now we're going to take this, which I had written before just because I was trying to get it down. Okay. Could you use dramatize? I think what you mean is that should this become voiceover in which we are dramatizing the actions? And yes, you can do that, and I would do that if if he was, for instance, making a documentary. But one of the things I don't want to do is distract from the fact that he's podcasting. And if we were to do a dramatization, it would suggest that he had done the dramatization. That the dramatization actually occurred. That he was making a documentary about it. That he had people do this. So it would actually be confusing. One of the things that this scene is going to be about is about a person talking by themselves in this weird room. I will use cutaways like this stuff to keep it visual, but that's okay. I mean, really, yes, I am making a choice to focus on George and his face as he speaks. I believe that's okay. Some people will say, I can't do it. I can't have it. We need to have visuals. If that were to happen, if somebody were to buy this script and add visuals, groovy. I can't stop them. I would advise against it because I think it will be confusing. But I am imagining this as we're listening to a man who is working in an audio field. He's making an audio production, and I want to make that clear. Wow, it's been almost an hour. I should probably stop. But hey, we got a page and a quarter. It's a good start, and I hope it's been fun for you. Got a long way to go, but we started. So thank you all very much. It was great to see you all, and see you tomorrow. We'll do some more.